and whisked away to indefinite loyalist detention by the military. But remember, this isn't about what's logical. It's about what's going on in the brains of people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain. At what point do those luminaries start equating Al-Qaeda supporters with, say, radical anti-capitalists in the Occupy movement? What exactly is the difference between such groups in the minds, in what passes for the minds of the people who run this country? That difference seems to be getting smaller and smaller all the time. And such niceties as American citizenship and the legal tradition of due process seems to be less and less meaningful to the people who run things in America. What does seem real to them is this battlefield earth vision of the world, in which they are behind one set of lines, and increasingly enormous group of other people is on the other side. Here's another way to ask the question: on which side of the societal fence do you think the McCains and Grahams would put? Say an unemployed American plumber who refused an eviction order from Bank of America and holed up with his family in his Florida house refusing to move. Would Graham McCain consider that person to have the same rights as a Lloyd Blankfein? Or is that plumber closer in their eyes to being like the young Muslim who throws a rock at the U.S. Embassy in Yemen?
Yeah, so like I said a couple of minutes ago, that they started this war on terrorism, and they focused it upon Arabs in the Middle East. Then it became Arabs that are also U.S. citizens. Then it became blacks that convert to Islam. The last arrest they had, so-called terrorist plot was foiled, was a Dominican who recently converted to Islam, and they brought him into the system and processed him, and basically, like the Fort Hood situation with that Arab I think he was a psychiatrist. Now this guy, for you to be a psychiatrist, you have to spend years in school. You have to go to a good university. That means you graduated high school. That means you pretty much came out of your mother and your father. They wasn't goat herders somewhere in the Middle East. They most likely were either born in the States or born in an influential area in the Arab world that gave their children the ideal to make it. To graduate high school, go to college, become a doctor. But all of a sudden the guy snaps. He's a psychiatrist. He deals with people that snap. Like the military. He was a psychiatrist for the military. I forget his name, but that was the Fort Hood incident. And this was maybe what? Matter of fact, Google it. Put the Fort Hood shooting or whatever. This was a couple of years ago. This had to be, 2, maybe 3 years ago? And to this day, we hadn't heard a word from this guy. They don't even show the guy. They'll show pictures of him, and they haven't tried him yet. So what in the hell is going on? They're saying based upon this new bill, this detention bill, they can just grab you up and have two guys say, well, me and this guy was talking, and he did say he was going to do this and you're going to do that. But you never hear whether the guy actually said it, or you never have the actual proof or the video or the cassette tape that he actually said it. The evidence. So basically what's happening, that's why we named the title what it was called, Behold the Devil Cometh Down, having great wrath, for he knoweth that he had but a short time. It's a long title, but basically it's quoting from Revelation 12:12. See, they want to get this new world order going. They want to put that chip in you. They want to go to Iran. They want to establish that new world order. which they're not going to establish that new world order pursuant to Job, the 20th chapter, and many other scriptures. Did you find something on there? All right, let's read some of it, not too much.
Yeah.
Give me the year, give me a little.
All right, this is This is from Wikipedia. This is some information on the Fort Hood shooting. The Fort Hood shooting was a mass shooting that took place on November 5th, 2009 at Fort Hood. The most populous U.S.
What year was that? November 5th, what?
November 5th, 2009 at Fort Hood. The most populous U.S. military installation in the world, located just outside Killen, Texas. In the course of the shooting, a single gunman killed 13 people and wounded 29 others.
13, November 5th.
Yep. 13, yep. And wounded.
November 5th, that's one of those demonic high holy days, if I'm not mistaken. Also 13, he killed 13. That's also a esoteric number. Going back to this guy, Obama, breaking news, it was about 11 p.m., I think it was, May 1st, when Osama bin Laden was killed by SEAL Team Number 6, because all that day, that was on a Sunday. So I said, well, May 1st, when May 1st comes about, we always say, well, something's going to happen. So it was like 10:30. I'm saying nothing happened, man. That's strange. Then all of a sudden, I put it on CNN, breaking news. And then the president comes up, and it's on May. I said, there it goes. You know, he so happens to be killed on May 1st. See, you average people out there, you peons out there, you have no clue as to what's going on, man. When we see somebody make a speech, whether it be Obama, Hillary Clinton, and any of these Arab dignitaries, they'll show certain hand signs, and they'll do certain things. That's why we know that Johanna sold out. That's why we know that Comfy sold out. That's why we know that Zabak sold out. That's why recently, if you notice, Zabak, he has these karaoke moments. He's got him playing basketball. He's got these cookouts trying to gather all Israel. See, it's all under the thing of all Israel. Let's put aside our differences and come together. But if you notice, when they make their garments, I'm talking about Zabak, they have fleur de lis on their garments. Now, if you look up and you research fleur de lis, that's the flower of Louis, which goes back to the French. But it really goes deeper than that. It goes back to Juno, which is the virgin. That's why you have the mother and child, the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary who conceived the Lord, so to speak, having no sex with another man. The other name that she had was Juno. They made a movie called Juno. So they're showing you that everything that they're doing, they're gonna give you a little sign. They're gonna give like this. The way we knew that General Yohana or General Gehenna sold out was because of the mark of the beast. He said that's Christianity. When NATO came about in 1949, how are they going to force Christianity on you when Christianity predates NATO? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. That's why the Most High set us up, the men of the Lord, to give you the real truth. Not that bullshit that you get from Nate Satan and Comfy, Zabak. And then there's two brothers that even left Zabak and them, and they've been coming down to our camp saluting us, but they're out there on their own. All right, go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 47, verse 9. But these two things shall come up to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for thy great abundance of thine enchantments.
That goes for these elite devils, and it goes for these Israelites that sold their soul, because you just can't take the money. You just can't take the money and say, well, they told me not to teach this. They told me not to put the name of the Most High. You're going to have to worship one of those entities, one of those demons. You gonna have to